Just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 19. So last time we had quite a few things really happening. We got introduced to Gentle Criminal and La Brava, two new villains who I assume are going to be important in the oncoming arc. We got introduced to what this oncoming arc is going to be about, which is about a school festival, which I am all for. I am all good with that. We've seen that kind of thing in many different anime. And hell, it's usually, not always, but usually a pretty fun little slice of lifestyle arc that can always just bring a lot of smiles. It's usually a wholesome kind of thing, you know. And well, I definitely feel like with My Hero, they're going to bring something into it, make it a little more exciting than normal. We'll just have to see where it goes. On that hand, we also have Eri. So Eri is recovering. Her power is kind of spent at the moment, they're guessing. Because it's kind of a guess at this point, because they don't fully know for sure, but they assume that her power has to do with her horn, that when it shrinks like it has been, it's like less likely to go out of control and shit. So yeah, she ended up talking to Mirio and Deku, and Deku got the idea to invite her to the school festival. And Mirio full-heartedly agreed with it. So yeah, it looks like they're going to get permission and bring her there, and just have fun with it. Just kind of bring her spirits up. She likes apples. Mirio talks about getting her candy apples, and when describing them, made her drool, which was cute as hell. So yeah. We also seem to be having a bit of a focus on Kyoka this arc. Because while the class was trying to figure out what to do for the school festival, it was eventually kind of figured out that they would do like a musical performance. And they were able to convince Kyoka to help them with it. Now, Kyoka, as we have known well already, she is musically inclined. As we saw when her dorm room was introduced, she plays a lot of instruments, and we've even seen now that she's taught, or at least started to teach, her fellow classmates about it. In the same way that we saw Mina teach them dancing. So she at first was kind of nervous regarding it. It kind of made me feel like it's a stage fright kind of thing. The way she was acting, like it's like, okay, yeah, I'm good with teaching you and playing like in private, but in such a public space with all those people around and everything, with all that kind of expectation, it's like, yeah, and I get that because I've had stage frights, and I guess you could say kind of in a way performance anxiety in my life. I've always had trouble like with social situations. And not only just being in social situations, but especially when I've had to like perform, whether it be in like some kind of school or church-based play, or when I've had to present something and all. And when I first started doing panels for conventions, it scared the shit out of me, being completely honest. And I was so fucking nervous. And at first, like when I first started, I was very bad at it. And I'm not the best currently, by the way, but yeah, I was very bad at it at the beginning because I really didn't know how to properly interact with people. I didn't know how to properly like discuss things and whatnot. But I eventually, through continuing to do it, got better at it. And of course, part of that is the encouragement from a friend who helped start doing panels with me and stuff. We've done like a panel on Name That Theme, is what it's called. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds. We play theme songs from like anime, cartoons, that jazz, and the contestants at the panel have to try and name it. So yeah, and I've run that on my own since when he hasn't been able to go. So it's like I know how to do it. um, and it's great. It's great. I have a lot of fun with it. So yeah. Um, but overall, I've gotten a lot better at that through experience and other people encouraging me. And not even just people I've worked with, but people who attend the panel who have told me, this was great, I really enjoyed it. Like, that means so much to me. And it is so validating and helps me gain that confidence. So I completely understand Kyoka's nervousness here. I completely understand her not initially not wanting to do it, but only agreeing to do so with all that encouragement from her friends, from the people she has grown to care about. She's come to truly care for these other students, her classmates, that she values their opinions. And when they stand up for her, especially someone like, I mentioned this last time, especially someone like, oh my God, what is his name? The animal kid, Coda. I keep forgetting his name. But especially someone like Coda, who barely speaks. He barely speaks. He's really shy and nervous himself. So when he full-heartedly throws himself out there to encourage her in such a loud and excitable way, that means something. That really does. And so I think that, and him and Kaminari especially encouraging her like they did, really helped turn things around for her. And it's like she does have connection to both of them, especially, like more so than some of the other classmates, because she worked with Coda when they were taking on President Mike in that test, as well as her and Kaminari have worked together, as well as just the fact that she finds Kaminari kind of hilarious when he goes dumb because of his quirk. So it's like she's had plenty of interaction with both of them. To the point where, like, she knows Coda doesn't speak much, and she's encouraged. In fact, this is actually really good storytelling from a writing perspective. She encouraged him in their test against President Mike. She was the one who encouraged him to use his quirk to speak to the insects, even when he was afraid of them, which helped them win by incapacitating President Mike. And now he's doing the same for her. That in itself is just awesome, because it shows that Coda valued that encouragement and that he wanted to give it back to her. Which, in the end, does go back to her. Because her encouragement is what encouraged him and allows him to do the same for her. So it's kind of this full circle of events that really feels like it really feels like properly handled. And it was almost kind of swept over in the episode, like they didn't make a big deal out of it. They didn't say all of this in the episode or anything, and Kyoka didn't even like make any notable like reaction to him specifically encouraging her. But the fact that he did, like, we as viewers, or I guess manga readers too, who had read this back when it first came out, we've been following this, we remember that. And so we understand the meaning of this. It doesn't need to say it. It doesn't need to blatantly point it out. Horikoshi and the people who adapted this into the anime know that we'll understand. Or at least hope we will. And it's like, I don't even think I fully grasped that when I first reacted to the last episode. But yeah, it's really great to think about that this actually has a lot of meaning. Not just because Coda spoke up, but because it was Coda who spoke up. Anyway. So I know nothing about what's going to happen in this episode. I assume we're just going to continue on with the festival preparations and stuff. I doubt we're going to get to the festival this episode. Um, I mean, maybe, but I think this episode's going to focus more on on the preparations for it. Kyoka teaching them and everything. Maybe they're going to be maybe they're going to get some dance lessons from Mina as well to help with the performance. Um, that kind of stuff. Maybe we'll see a bit more of Gentleman and Labrava, or Gentle, not Gentleman, just Gentle Criminal. Gentle and Labrava, maybe we'll see a little bit more of them. We'll get maybe a little more with Eri. Maybe we'll see Deku and Mirio going to the principal to talk to him, about Eri, like they said they were going to. Um, yeah, I think this is just going to be some prep stuff, kind of like a not really a slow episode. That's, I feel, the wrong way to put it, but kind of one that's just going to just be a breather in a way. Last episode really kicked this off, and this episode I feel is going to just kind of just build on it rather than really get things kicked off, really start things yet. Because we have like what, 24 to 26 episodes, something like that. I don't know the exact count offhand. I could probably look it up real quick. I just have to go to my anime list because I have it on there. Give it a second to load up. 25. Okay, so there's 25 episodes this season. So we've only got 6 more after this, because you count 20, obviously. So there's 6 more episodes after this, which means I doubt they're going to start another arc, which means this is probably going to focus, yeah, on Gentle and Labrava as villains, if anything. I don't know how it's going to all come together. Like, are they going to attack the festival? That would be interesting, I guess. But yeah, I definitely think this arc is going to focus on the festival, the entire rest of it. Because I just don't see how we could really do anything else in the time we have. Like, I don't see how we could finish off the school festival and then go on to something else as well. So I'm thinking, like, yeah, this episode we're going to have preparations and stuff, and maybe we'll start to actually get into the festival with the episode after, which will just, like, start to introduce stuff. This performance will probably be, like, the end of the festival or something. And at some point, maybe we'll have, like, maybe some points in the middle we'll have Gentle and Labrava enter and stuff, and then we'll have the, like, confrontation with them and the possible fights and everything. And then at the end, after all of that is done, we'll kind of close out with the performance, which will kind of bring everyone's spirits back up and just kind of get things back to normal in a way. That's kind of my thoughts. I've been proven wrong before, so we'll have to see how it's going to go. But I'm excited nonetheless. I really am. This series continues to impress, and we're almost at the end of a 4th season. Like, seriously, it's wild to think about, but yeah, it's super deserving, and I can't wait till season 5 eventually comes out. And I do plan to see the movie at some point, and I will be reacting to the movie, by the way. The second movie, because I reacted to the first movie. I will react to the second one as well. It just depends on when I'm able to. Probably will have to wait until it's out on DVD, just, for valid reasons. But yeah, I will react to it. Either way. So we've talked long enough, so we're just going to get on with this episode. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So there's something I want to talk about. A few episodes back, there was something I was going to talk about in the afterthoughts, and I completely forgot. But I was kind of reminded about it this time. Uh, Back a few episodes ago, when they were doing the lesson, the extra, what is it called? The provisional license exams, the extra exams. Bakugo had mentioned, like he was talking about doing things violently, and it's like he basically mentioned that's how I was raised. And when that part came up, I wanted to mention something about it in the afterthoughts, and I completely had forgotten. So let me talk about it again here. Let me talk about it here real quick, because it does kind of tie into what I'm going to say about Bakugo in this in these afterthoughts. So this implies that Bakugo was raised in honestly a very unhealthy and toxic environment. And most likely by his mother. As we've seen, Mitsuki is very, very much like her son. Or, I guess, rather, Bakugo is very much like her. Mitsuki is very violent and aggressive as well. And if Bakugo was raised in this kind of way, presumably by her, because his father seems to be pretty timid and kindly, then this implies that his mother raised him in most likely an abusive way. And it kind of shows that this is why Bakugo is the way he is. And this is something I've been like kind of going on about since season 1. I've been wondering, like, okay, why is Bakugo this way? Why is he so aggressive, so violent, so just bad in a way? Bad at being heroic. And I always assumed that it was something to do with either the way he was raised or something in regards to that. And I've had people who hated on Bakugo and say he was just a disgusting, evil, horrible bully and stuff. People who saw him basically as one note would constantly respond to me with things like, "Oh no, don't try to excuse his actions and shit. Don't try to make him sympathetic. He's just a horrible bully and stuff." And it's like, I'm not trying to excuse his actions. His actions have been horrible. He's definitely done some terrible stuff. And one of the things that keeps being brought up specifically to me is the fact that he literally, in, I believe it was the very first episode, first or second, I believe it was the first though, he literally told Deku to jump off the roof and die. He encouraged suicide. And as someone who was suicidal and attempted it myself, I've been told that it's hypocritical to like kind of support him in any way, to show any kind of understanding of Bakugo. But that's not true. It would be hypocritical to excuse those actions, to say that his words there or his actions following and whatnot throughout the early series were excusable. But I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there is reason for his actions. Not excuse. I'm not saying that his actions are excusable. I'm not saying that they're okay. I'm saying that there is a reason for them. And that's just how things go in the real world. Like, when people do horrible stuff like this, there's usually a reason. Whether they were raised poorly, whether they've just got some kind of mental issue that makes them naturally more aggressive or incapable of understanding empathy and shit. It's just, you have to realize that saying that there is a reason for something is not saying that their actions are excusable. So we kind of view that Bakugo's actions here are brought on by the way he was raised. He was raised in a very violent way, a very, honestly, toxic way. And on top of that, with his quirk manifesting and the constant praise and everything he got for that, it also inflated his ego. So not only was he raised in a way that made him feel that violence was an okay thing, that violence and aggression was natural, even, or even um, like telling like people you're gonna kill them or shit, which again, very probably Mitsuki's influence on him. Not only did he grow up thinking that was okay, but he also grew up thinking he was better than everyone else. Those two things combined are very dangerous and lead to, well, Bakugo. They lead to what he had become. However, however, throughout the series since the beginning, he has grown in a positive manner. He has grown in a way that he's constantly around positive influences, whether it be All Might, Deku, the other teachers, the other students. He's around these positive influences that not only break down the ego that he had been given regarding his abilities and whatnot, but also these positive influences show him that the negative reinforcement he was given growing up isn't the only way to handle things. Bakugo has extremely mellowed out compared to how he was at the beginning of the series. Yeah, he's still aggressive, very much so, but he's very much mellowed out. He's grown to be able to not only acknowledge the talents of others, but full on compliment them at times. He's grown to the point where he's giving legitimate advice on how to do things in a very positive way. I mean, we saw it a few episodes ago with the leader of those kids. And we see it again in this episode. And that's where this is all coming to the current episode, where I'm bringing it all to. We see in this episode that after he shows he can be good at the drums and all, he refuses to join the band still because he feels that their reason for doing it is wrong. Because their initial reason for doing this is to please the other students, the students who are kind of feeling like they're not like adding up, like they're not doing as well and being as big of a name as the as Class 1A. And so the class's entire goal has been to kind of give them something to make them happy. But Bakugo calls them out on that bullshit. Bakugo's like, no, why would you think that would even work? Why would you think that the source of their stress would be the way to relieve it? Why would you think that us trying to make them happy and relieve their stress would work when we are the reason they are so stressed? And we saw that in this episode. We saw two random students from another course basically shit-talking Class 1A. So Bakugo's like, if we're going to do this, don't do it to try and please them. Do it to show our own quality. Do it for our own sake, to show them that we rock and to own this festival, basically. He uses, obviously, he talks about killing them with our sound, obviously, which is actually one of the more tame ways he's used the word kill, to be honest, because it's metaphorical. He's talking about being so good that it blows them away. And that's kind of what he wants to do here. He wants to, if he's going to be in this band, he only wants to do it if they agree to do it like at full 100%, and not for the other students, not to do it for them, but to do it for themselves, to do it so that they can basically grow their own self-confidence. Because even though Bakugo's self-confidence comes from an overblown ego created through constant praise of his quirk, he does know something about self-confidence. I talked about it in this episode. I talked about it many times before. Bakugo is extremely smart. I'm sure he's understood almost this entire time that he's not exactly the best person, not exactly the symbol of heroism. I'm sure he's understood that. And definitely as the series has gone on, I'm sure he's understood that more and more. especially after his kidnapping, considering the villains wanted to bring him over to their side. I'm sure that, like it was mentioned in this episode, has weighed on him a bit. So he's talking about this. He's like talking about actual self-confidence rather than ego here. He's like, we want to do this for ourselves. We want to show them that we rock on our own, that we can do this. We don't need to try and please them. We don't need to try and just kind of make them happy and content and stuff. That's not what we should be doing this for, because then, honestly speaking, like as a fan of music, if you're just doing this to try and please other people, it's never going to turn out right. It's never going to be as good as it could. You have to be doing it for yourself as well. You have to enjoy it, to truly want to not just give other people the best show you can, but give yourself the best show you can. Self-confidence is important in any kind of performance. So it's like, yeah, Bakugo is very right here. And the thing is, what he's saying here is kind of the culmination of his growth. Like, I've said it before, I'll say it again, Bakugo has the best character growth of any character in this show, by far. And some of the best of any character I've seen in anime. His character growth is that fucking good. And it's not over. It's nowhere near over. He's still aggressive. He's still violent. And he probably always will be to a degree. But he's growing. He's learning. And he's realizing that he's not only not the best, but that he has things to learn. That he has ways to grow. And that he has ways to help others do the same. In an essence, he's learning what it means to be a hero. I would argue that that is more of an important thread line for his character than Deku's. Because Deku already knows what it means to be a hero. Deku knew what it meant to be a hero in episode 1. He doesn't have to learn that. All Deku is learning throughout this is what it means to have this power and how to use it properly. Deku's character arc is centered around his quirk, around mastering one for all. That is his character arc. It's about becoming the greatest hero through mastering his quirk and, well, becoming a hero. Bakugo's character arc is about learning what it means to be a hero. And both of them are vastly important to this series, because through Deku's, you get to see a lot of the great action, but you also get to see a lot of the kind of, with great power comes great responsibility kind of mantra. With Bakugo's, meanwhile, you get to see what being a hero is about, what it means, and what you have to grow to become a hero. And it's all things that you could validly take into real life. All valid things that you don't need a quirk to accomplish. So it's like, you need both sides of this story, from Deku and Bakugo's angle, to truly make this series work. And I've kind of had this big theory going on since the beginning that by the end of the series, not only will Deku be the #1 hero, but Bakugo will be the #2, and they will be on very good terms. They will be friends. Not just rivals, not just acquaintances, full-on friends. And hell, they'll probably even work together on occasion. They'll team up as heroes on occasion. Not as like a full-time team, but you know what I mean. The point I'm getting at is that Bakugo's arc here is needed. It's full-on needed for this series to succeed as well as it is. If Bakugo were taken out, it would vastly hurt this series. So yeah. His arc is just as important as Deku's. Um, but let's talk very briefly on the other stuff for this, for what we got with this episode. So we put the band together in this episode. We got our singer and bass guitar, Kyoka Jiro. We have Tokiyami on guitar. We have Kaminari on guitar. So those are our two other guitarists. On drums, we have Bakugo. And then we have two other teams which are set up for, we have a team set up for special effects and stuff, and we have a team set up for dancing. And they're all going to kind of have to work on their separate parts, but also collab together in order to make this all work. And all of that's great, and I love how we're getting into this, into all of this. But then there's also Gentle and La Brava. And we kind of get confirmation on what I was already thinking. Gentle is going to get involved into the school festival. He is going to mess everything up, basically. And his goal here isn't really to cause chaos or to attack people or anything. It's basically just to infiltrate. He just wants to show that he can infiltrate UA. That he can do it. Just to kind of like show that it's not perfect. To kind of like make a statement, basically. Which seems to be his goal. Because as we find out in this episode, Gentle is not like a villain. He's more, as I mentioned, on the scale of Stain. In line that he's definitely a villain. But his goals are actually, his motives and his goals are actually positive in a way. He considers himself a gentleman thief, which is where he gets the name Gentle Criminal from. He thinks that all of his actions are basically to make a statement and to show the cracks in society. Like with that convenience store. It was to like make a statement and bring light to the shady practices and whatnot. And he sees himself as doing good in the world, in kind of the same way as Stain. However, he is not inspired by Stain. He started beforehand, as we find out. He actually preceded Stain, and has been going strong for 6+ years now. And he actually hates Stain. We find out that he actually views Stain as kind of someone who stole a spotlight, and Stain's more violent and aggressive tendencies he views as a hindrance, while he tries to be, well, more gentlemanly, because he views it as more refined and whatnot. Which, I mean, technically, yes, it's more refined at all. But yeah, La Brava, meanwhile, seems to kind of just be a fangirl. She kind of just seems to be a gentle criminal fangirl. And so she's just kind of working with him because of that. I mean, she might have some other kind of motive or goal. I don't know what it is, but right now, that seems to be her main thing. Gentle himself as a character is pretty interesting. He does have that kind of refined, almost Aoyama style to him. Where he's like, oh yeah, I'm like so fancy. He's talking about tea and shit. He's constantly pouring tea, specifically, even in completely inopportune times, and ends up getting burned by it. He definitely has his own, pun intended, quirks to him. He's interesting. We don't know what his quirk is yet. We don't know what he can do, if he's skilled at hand-to-hand combat at all. We have no idea about any of that. And we don't know La Brava, her deal with all of that either. So all of that I feel we are going to reveal at some point. But I'm very interested to see what happens with this arc. My theory, as I mentioned in the pre-thoughts, was that he was going to get involved, he was going to attack or something, which now we know is infiltration. And that's going to happen, but then the actual performance that we're building up to with the band is going to be after. And I'm still kind of leaning towards that. I'm still kind of leaning as that's going to be the more of a way to end out the arc rather than to have the arc end on Gentle and Labrava. That's just kind of my theory, though. That's nothing's guaranteed. Um, it's just what I'm kind of going with. But at the end of this episode, we also see Aerie is brought to the school because I assume they're going to be bringing her to the principal and trying to talk things through because the festival's not happening quite yet. Um, they still got a month of preparation. So I assume they're bringing her there to, well, introduce her to the school and everything, as well as to meet with the principal to talk about bringing her to the festival, which is going to be interesting to see what the principal thinks, because Nezu seems to be mostly agreeable, a pretty nice dude, but at the same time, we know that he also does what he thinks is best for the school. He truly does. He's also extremely intelligent. Like, that is literally his quirk. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what his perspective on this idea is, on bringing Aerie, an outsider, into this when, for this year's festival, it is only for the school. That's kind of one of the big things with this year's festival. It is only for the school. They're not allowing outsiders in. Aerie might be a special case because of the situation, but I'm just interested to hear what Nezu says. And I really hope that we get to see that. I really hope they don't skip over that. I want to hear what he says. Plus, it's been a while since we've seen Nezu, so I just kind of want to see him again. Especially if some of the other teachers are there, because I feel like they work off each other really well. Midnight and Ectoplasm and all of them. The Cinderblock guy, who I can't actually remember his name right now. Yeah, I can't think of it. I think it is something just like Cinderblock, but not quite. I don't know. Either way, Cement Toss, that's it. But yeah, yeah. I would really love to see that, and I really hope that they don't skip over that. And I'd love to see Aerie's reaction to seeing Nezu as well. I think that would be adorable. I mean, she knows about quirks and all, so she could put it together, I'm sure. She's not like a dumb kid. She is smart. She understands like general stuff, it seems. Um, Outside of like stuff she has been legitimately kept from by Overhaul, but still. I just kind of want to see that interaction. But yeah, so this episode did some really cool things. I really liked seeing it. It continued to kind of prove, though funny enough, how useless Mineta is. Um, like seriously. I mean, obviously, yes, he's a very small character, so he wouldn't be able to play a guitar properly. But it's like Mineta has no redeeming features at all. He has no redeeming factors to him in any way. He is literally the worst. And I mentioned this on social media. I think it was on Facebook. But Mineta is literally the only thing about My Hero that is legitimately bad. And that if he were taken out completely, it would actually improve the series. The only thing that would do that. Mineta is the only part of this series that is actively bad. Because, like I said, he has no redeeming features to him at all. He's pure scum. And I've gone on rants about that before, so I'm not going to do that again here. But yeah, it's just like this episode just continues to prove like that he's kind of useless. He has no redeeming factors, and he just doesn't have really any reason to be there, other than slight comic relief. And the only thing I can even like kind of even accept is that at least he gets punished for his lecherous actions. At least he does get legitimately punished for them. He gets slapped and like thrown and kicked and shit by the others, especially the girls he tries to fuck with. So at least he does get punishment, and I can at least be appreciative of that. Um, but yeah, all in all, I really, really liked this episode. I liked it for Bakugo's continued growth and how important it was, like what he said and how everything is kind of coming together with him. I like what they're doing with Gentle and La Brava so far. I'm not quite sure how I would rank them compared to other villains at the moment, but we're going to have to just see where it goes for that. Um, I love the school festival thing. Like I didn't talk about it much, but I love music, especially like the kind of music, kind of what they're doing in a way. Uh, so it's like I'm really excited to see how this all goes. I love music. I just really think this could be fantastic. And I can't wait for the performance. But tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. Um, yeah, just tell me what you thought on this episode about Bakugo's growth, about Eri, about Gentle and La Brava. Tell me all your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.